All right, I'm not going to talk about soccer for 20 minutes. I got to give Matt a hard time because he's all about soccer. So, all right, my name's Cliff. Give you a little background. Some of you already know me. I've been going to Calvary since 2010. I played and coached football pretty much all my life. I'm originally from Louisiana, so I'm a big LSU fan, big Saints fan. Um, I don't know, and I got a bunch of uncles who were college coaches and all that good stuff in Louisiana. I know. So these are new slides, so bear with me. I just reviewed them briefly. I got them this afternoon, so uh, if you have questions, just stop me. A lot of the stuff was already covered by Matt and Amber, so it's just kind of recap. All right. All right. So, like Matt said, I mean, we're focused on the gospel. All right. So we are focused on football too, teaching the basics, and uh, it's just not an upward league or church league. We want to make sure we reach those kids and we actually reach some of the family members too. So that's why we're here. Now, I didn't want to focus on the devotionals. A lot of folks, and I get it. I mean, if you're new and you're not comfortable enough, just reach out. Reach out to me or reach out to another coach that's comfortable doing the devotionals. But we need to get those done because, like Matt said, we heard back that some coaches last year weren't doing it, so we want to make sure we do that. And it's really easy. It's all in your book and on the card. So, but if you have questions, definitely get a hold of us. Can everyone see that? All right. All right. 5 keys to coaching. All right. Be organized. My suggestion is before you go to practice, make sure you know what you're going to practice. Whether you're going to practice throwing skills, running, running routes. Basically, the younger kids, you're just going to have an issue just trying to get them lined up and staying still. So it's going to be like herding cats. So whoever those of you that are actually coaching the younger kids, it's going to be, you're going to be putting people in positions, putting kids in positions and telling them what to do. Like Amber said, those coaches, the younger ones, are also going to be the refs, the kindergarten through first. You're going to be your own refs. So that should be, it's going to be challenging. Let's just say that. Second and third will have refs, and fourth and sixth, which are a little more competitive, will definitely have refs. So, but definitely be organized. Be ready to know what you teach instead of just showing up going, what are we doing today? So, yeah. So, yeah, I have a whole bunch of them that we'll take home every Saturday to wash, and then there'll be a box, and you can just grab your size. So, yep. Like I said, take time to teach the fundamentals. You can do a practice plan. It's all in your book, but just remember that the younger kids are not going to know where to line up. So, and a lot of us, since if you've played football, been around football, you want to do all these fancy stuff, but if they don't know the fundamentals, they're not going to know what to do, where to run. I mean, at least once or twice a week, we'll have someone run the wrong way, which is always funny. So, you need to get them to run the right way before you start teaching them all the fancy plays. All right, like I just talked about, lead the practice as devotional. If you're not comfortable doing it, get someone that does, or get a hold of us. Those are important. Communicate. Amber talked about it. We need to communicate with parents, communicate through band. I do look at band all the time. So I get notifications when something pops up. There's a question, just put it on there. Either Amber answer it, Matt will answer it, or I'll answer it. But yeah, definitely communicate to the parents your expectations as coaches. I don't foresee any issues with parents on the field. I mean, there's a possibility. Not everyone goes to Calvary. There may be new people to Calvary, so just make sure you're communicating not only what we're doing, uh, when the games are, but just the expectation of parents there on the field. I can tell you from personal experience of coaching for many, many years, and part of an executive board, I had to throw out parents every Saturday we played. So off the fields. So I don't expect that to happen here. We haven't had it yet. I mean, I've had talks to some couple parents here and there, but just communicate with them, let them know what you expect. All right, instill sportsmanship, the competitive spirit, and growth mindset. My biggest thing with the 4 through 6, you get more of that with competitiveness. The younger group really is just trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. The 4th through 6th grade, they're going to be a lot more competitive. All right. So one thing I usually, good sportsmanship, and that's just doing the basics. We're talking about if you pull a flag instead of throwing it down like you just want to hand it back to your opponent, stuff like that. Small stuff. It's okay to be excited, but then there's the unsportman. We don't want to be unsportmanlike. I can't even get that out. All right, and the growth. You want to see growth, and you'll see that through the games. The first 2 weeks will be rough, and when we're actually reffing the first 2 weeks, I don't expect you guys to be calling everything that's going on. The first 2 weeks, especially for the older kids that have refs, we want to kind of give them a chance to get adjusted to what they're doing. All right, and you can do corrections out there because you're going to be your coaches and your refs, so you can do corrections. Hey, line up there behind the line of scrimmage. So we're going to give them a chance to get used to it and grow into the game. So by week 3 or 4, you'll see a drastic improvement from week 1. I can guarantee it. As they start to realize what they're supposed to be doing. Any questions so far? All right. Circle of affirmation. So the biggest thing too is we kind of talk about the parents a little bit, but if the referee calls it, we don't want kids out there be arguing about the referees and stuff like that. If you have a question as a coach and you don't agree with the call a referee made, just pull them aside. I know people get competitive, but we want to make sure he makes the call. Coach gives a positive response to the referee. We don't want coaches on the sideline going, "Oh, that's a bad call," and make a fool of themselves, okay? Because we want to give a good positive response. And if you play sports, you always, and I've seen it in youth football where the coach is animated, the coach is yelling, the coach is yelling at the refs, and then as they do that, the parents are starting to kind of start to get agitated. So they're actually kind of mimicking what the coach is putting out there. So that's where the communication portion comes into play and your expectations of the field and how they're responding. So circle affirmation, basically, as you can read, referee calls it, coach gives a positive reaction. The parents see that the coaches have a positive reaction. The kids are going to have a positive reaction. That's basically, in the grand scheme of things, what that is. All right. All right, Amber talked about most of this, which is the coaching tool. I'll just click through it. I asked her if she was on coffee today because I said, why am I here? Your practice plans. Did you? Okay. Practice plans, your weekly devotion. You covered all this, right? Okay. They got skills and drills? That's pretty good. Yeah, and there's also, obviously, we have the internet. Google's great. You can look at stuff that works. I always kind of went to Google also. If I'm not particularly like what's on there, I actually go to Google and I'm like, okay, what's some good, drills to do? So it's just, sure, that'll work. Yeah. but you don't necessarily have to use those. You can come up with your own that you think are good. The rules. We'll talk about the rules and the referee. I have a slideshow for that, and then there's going to be some adjustments to the rules. We kind of change upward rules around a little bit, so we'll discuss those. Email and text. I'll click through those. Substitution system. That's self-explanatory. You want all kids to play. You want to make sure you get them all in and have equal playing time. So whether you use it in the app or you track it on a spreadsheet or track it on a piece of paper, you just need to make sure we get everyone in and equal playing time. You don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, you can identify, the kids that are good quarterbacks and who want to play quarterbacks. Everybody wants to run it or play quarter, but you'll know. I mean, I'm not saying you have to do that, but it's nice to get a couple kids in there that want to play quarterback and just rotate the quarterback. Sometimes you get a group that doesn't have any kids that can throw the ball except for one, so then you got to work around that too. So that's where kind of your evaluation during practice comes into play. You can determine, who's going to be a running back, who's good at running back, who's good at wide receiver, and you can rotate them as you see fit. But that's kind of a hard position to rotate everybody in because not everyone can throw, especially the younger kids. The younger K through first are probably just going to do a lot of handoffs, fumbles and handoffs, but they're going to do a lot of that. And then so as you get older, the 4 through 6, I think what we did last year or the previous years, we've, tried to get one or two good quarterbacks that could throw, and then just rotated them in and out. So, substitution touch points. So some of this, we're doing 7 players. So as we mentioned earlier, 7 players for 4 through 6, 7 players for second and third. And kindergarten were 5. So some of this is different. Like we talked about, just being prepared for practice, knowing what you're going to practice. Once again, practice devotional, a 5-minute practice devotional. Any questions? Amber made my job easy today. She talked about the stickers, the practice cards, and the video. Or did she? Yes, she did. All right. Teaching the fundamentals. We kind of hit on that earlier. The younger kids, I would focus solely on trying to get them lined up to where they need to be lined up. Terminology, when a running back is, what a quarterback is, who's carrying the ball, all that good stuff. As you get older, obviously you can do the still sticking with fundamentals, even through second and third and fourth and sixth. I mean, you can get a little fancier in the 4th through 6th grades, but they still need to learn, fundamentals. So if you're not teaching them those up front, it doesn't matter how fancy your plays are. So learn the basics and just teach them how to have fun. I won't go through all those. So briefly, we talked about quarters, 4 quarters, 9 minutes. We'll get more into that in the referee portion of it. So the clock runs through the game until the last 2 minutes of the 4th quarter. Okay, you have 1 timeout. After it hits 2 minutes of the 4th quarter, the ball will stop for an incomplete pass or out of bounds or the timeout. So only the last 2 minutes does the clock stop. It runs throughout. Because we all tend to stop and like we know about football and an incomplete pass or fumble or anything like that. And a fumble is a dead ball, and an interception is a dead ball. Meaning, if you fumble and you drop it, that's where the ball is dead. You can't pick it up and run it. And the same thing with interception. If you intercept it, it's dead wherever that person intercepted the ball, and then the offense gets it. But we'll get into that a little bit when you talk about referee rules. All right, I never talked about this. You're going to get an email. Please call your parents and review your playbook and become familiar with your coach's book. All right, so that's the coaching slides. Anyone have any questions so far? Everyone's sleeping. Okay, sounds good. Sorry. Let's see here. What? You're going to talk again?
But he's transitioning. I'll just say, on that timing to keep the game going, refs, if you are refereeing, you do have the authority. If you notice you're behind schedule for any reason, something happened in the game that took more time than it should have, you cannot stop the clock those last 2 minutes. Okay? So if we need to keep track on time, if you're like, we're way over and this is not going to end and we need to move to the next game, then those last 2 minutes don't have to be stopped. Okay? And I trust everyone not to take advantage of that, but that is something that you have the authority to make that decision if that needs to happen to keep on schedule with things. Because we can get behind in some of the times, so you can shorten some of that.
All right. We're good to go? All right. We got another 24 slides. Y'all going to make it? All right. All right. As everyone knows, refereeing is challenging. Like I said, it's a tough thing. Not everyone's going to get it right. We need to have a little grace when people are calling, whether it's wrong or right. You just have grace and move on. I always tell the kids when I was coaching that doesn't matter what the ref calls, just keep playing. Okay, and it's my concern to worry about what the ref calls. I'll talk to him. You guys keep playing, and just forget to have a short memory when it comes to the next play. That's the biggest thing with a lot of, especially the older kids. They like to, whether it's a bad play or a bad call, they focus on that. So I always tell the kids, have a short memory, move on to the next play, and don't worry about the ref. All right, so self-explanatory. Those of you who are going to ref play a vital role in sports and coach. So I wanted to actually talk about the coach portion that I missed. Was I know that if you play sports at all through your life, you remember a coach, whether it's high school, college, anywhere. So you're important. So when you're out there coaching, just make sure they're looking at you. Those kids are looking at you and they're looking up to you. All right. So be the best that you can be when you're out there. All right, referee. Same thing. We're just not a regular league, right? So when we're calling out there, we got to show that we're out there to demonstrate not only how to teach them, but the gospel to the kids. And when we call it, we don't want to be arguing with coaches, or family or parents. I'll let you read that. Everybody see it? Good. All right, blowing the whistle. That's the biggest thing. So coaching, I would use the whistle also. That gets the kids ready, and the whistle means stop. Okay, even when the smaller, the K through first and the second and third grades, you want to be using a whistle at practice. Basically, takes control of the game. Encourages improvement, development, meaning stop, gives you a chance to explain, like I talked about briefly, was at the beginning of the season, the first 2 weeks is kind of a trial. You know, as you're reffing, I wouldn't call every single thing. I would focus on not moving at the line of scrimmage. Is a big one because obviously it's a penalty. You know, false start if you're moving. That's definitely a focus because I see it even through the 6th grade is they consistently are moving around in the backfield. So that goes back to fundamentals. Yeah, understand that not blowing the whistle causes frustration. I focus on blowing the whistle, making the call, and quickly resuming play. And if you're going to call something, call it and be consistent. You know, on both teams. All right, the 5 C's of upward referee: confidence, communication, control, consistency, and Christ-like. Oops. All right, so I'd like to talk about penalties actually help the team learn, whether they're offsides, whether they're moving when they're not supposed to be moving, you know, whether they're tackling or diving. That's one of the biggest things as a referee. We want to keep those kids on their feet. I mean, they tend to dive for the flags, but they can get hurt diving. So really got to focus with that. I mean, you catch a knee to the face. I've seen it. Some kids are aggressive when they play, so we just need to, you know, it's okay to be aggressive, but under control and within the guidelines of the game. And so don't be afraid to blow the whistle. Don't be afraid to walk off the penalty. Like I said, consistency also. And if you're not sure, ask. I mean, I'm always, throughout the season, there's always questions. If you're new to refereeing or new to Upward and don't know all the rules, just ask. I've come out there, I'll come to the field and sort it out and we'll figure it out. But if you don't know how, you know, do I mark off 10 yards? Do I mark off 15 yards? And we'll have that. Usually what I do is I create a little, Amber, do we have those penalty? I thought we had like little penalty like cards that showed how much to, maybe we didn't. No, we could. Oh, yeah. It's okay. Yeah. So we'll have some for game day. That way you can just refresh your memory. I mean, once you ref it a couple weeks, you'll get used to it, and then you won't need a card. But initially, if you're not used to it, you'll probably have a lot of questions. So, but I'll be there on Saturdays, so just let me know. All right, referees should communicate. Usually when I ref, I'll tell, you know, I'll give the players a little bit of grace. I'll say, hey, you scoot back a little bit. You're past the line of scrimmage. I'll say, hey, 13, you're moving. You're moving. You're not supposed to be moving. You keep moving, I'm going to throw you a flag. So, you know, still trying to encourage them to learn the game while you're actually refereeing. But ultimately, throw the flag because that also teaches them that they're actually that they need to stay still or not dive or not tackle. Speak with the players at their level. You want to include coaches on the explanation, and you definitely you want to be in positions, use proper officiating techniques and positions that everyone understands. So false start, pass interference, all that stuff. Use your voice to instruct throughout the game, and you should be in control. All right, if you're not in control and you're not making good calls, you know, there's going to be a lot of grumbling. I mean, there always is. But if there's question, let me know. But you need to make consistent calls and know what you're doing out there. I won't go through all of those. Everyone see it. Use a whistle, penalty flags, be consistent. When you're consistent, everyone appreciates it. The game goes smoother. There's not a lot of drama. There won't be there won't be that much conflict if you're calling and you know the rules. So don't let calls slide. All right, Christ-like. Lead by example. Your attitude and your actions reflect who Christ is in your life. Encourage players and coaches by what you say and do as a ref. Players, coaches, and spectators see the tone you set and are encouraged to follow the example. If your coach or player reacts in a negative way, you're always trying to diffuse the situation. Okay? Be firm but fair. And like I said, if you're still having an issue, even after you've talked to a coach, please come talk to me, and I'll talk to the coach. All right. Circle affirmation and criticism. Same thing we talked about during the coaches. It's the referee makes the call. Coach gives a positive response. Parent follows the example of the coach, and the child follows the parent's response. All right. Football field layout. So like Amber said, field 1 is the big field, and then field 2 is the kickball field over here. Is that what that is? Or baseball field? Yeah. So no run zones. We did that last year. No run zones are 5 yards, meaning you can't run the ball. So if you're outside of the no run zone, which is out, then you can throw it. If you're within, you can't run. Okay, and same thing for the 50-yard line. If you're within the 50-yard line, you can't run. If you're on the very outside of it, then you can't. You can run. So, and that first week or two of that, always kind of an issue. They're like, can we run here? Can we not run here? So we'll get used to it. But it's a 70-yard field, and that's it. Right, because they're going to be running the entire time because they're not going to be passing. That's true. I mean, they'll be fumbling or running, either one. The center to the quarterback hike is always the problem. Because you only have 4 plays. Yeah, so the reason why there's no run zone is because you'll start here at the 5-yard line. You have 4 plays to get past the 50. So that's why. And then once you get past the 50, then you get 4 additional plays to make it to the end zone. Yeah, second through 6. Yeah. And that's if, I mean, you probably have a couple kids that can actually pass in second and third. So I think you'll be okay. It's kind of right on the cusp. But a lot of folks don't realize that age actually does make a difference when you're playing any sport. A couple years is a huge difference. So. All right. Amber talked about this briefly. So 9-minute quarters. Each team has a 30-minute, 30-second timeout. 30-minute. And if you don't use it in the first quarter, it doesn't go over the second half. So if you don't use your first timeout in the first half, it doesn't roll over. You get one per half. So there were some questions about that last year. Well, I didn't use it. Well, yeah. Say that again? It stops. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the only time it'll stop during the game. At least the first half, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Yeah. So this is the different. We said the last minute of play, but we did the last 2 minutes of play, is what we did. So that's an adjustment. It's the last 2 minutes. Clock stops if it's a incomplete or a fumble or a timeout or out of bounds. Yeah, yeah. I said the fourth. Yeah, I said the fourth. Yeah, right before. Right, right. So yeah, I said only in the fourth quarter. Clock stop. Actually, it's the second and fourth quarter, last 2 minutes of the game. Good thing you were here. All right. So on the change of possession, also, so interception. Normally, well, I think we did it last year. So the change of possession is so if there's an interception and the ball goes over to the opposing team, clock stops. That way the kids can cycle through, get the defense on, get the offense on. Clock stops, but you only got a limited number, and you got to get a play off. And what did we do? 10 seconds last year. Yeah, we did 2 minutes. Hmm. We can. We can. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can do the last minute of the second and fourth quarter. And that's the thing. The referee's got to make sure the clock stops. So you're gonna have a clock operator operating the clock. You want to make sure that you that you're. Oh, they're gonna use it. Okay. Okay. You just need to make. You'll need to make sure that the clock stops. You know when to stop the clock, when to start the clock. Those things are finicky. The clock. So you may need to get a little closer to stop them. But you need to make sure you're stopping it when, in the last minute and in the timeout and all that stuff. Because what happens is they call a timeout, we don't stop the clock, and it keeps running. So you got to stay on the clock too. And like I said, they're finicky, so you might want to make sure you're close. I don't think you could do it across the field. Yeah. Yeah, and I can show them how to run the clock, and we'll tell them this is when you stop the clock. Just give them kind of the explanation of how to run the clock, and it's easier that way. That way, you don't have to keep running back to the clock to try to turn it off. That could be a pain. So. So all these are in the last minute of the second quarter and the fourth quarter. Incomplete pass. We just talked about it. He goes out of bounds on the change of possession after a touchdown, after an extra point. If there's a timeout or an interception, and the clock will stop on the snap. So not on the whistle, or if he blows a whistle, it'll go right on the snap. Dead ball, or if there's a penalty. So that's all in the last minute. All right, some offensive basics. So if you have a 5-man team, 3 of those kids need to be on the line of scrimmage. So that's going to be the center and 2 other kids. Obviously, that's the minimum. I mean, you could line them all up on the line of scrimmage if you wanted to, or do 5 on the line of scrimmage, quarterback and a running back for those of you going to play 7-on-7. So that's one of the fundamentals I want you want to focus on: imaginary line of scrimmage, stay behind the ball, all that good stuff. So fumbles, immediate dead ball, like we talked about. except for the younger group. The kindergarten, the first graders, I can guarantee the quarterback to the or the center of the quarterback exchange is going to be fumbled a lot. So just teach them to pick up the ball and run with it, because it's just going to happen. But for the older kids, if they can do a regular snap like a regular center does through his legs, or they could just grab the ball and throw it up like this. Either way. For the older kids, like the 4th through 6th graders, I would just have them hike it normally, like we normally do in football. But for the younger 2nd and 3rd graders, I would just give them an option. They can hike it normally or throw it to the side. Any questions? So that's different. Like I said, 2nd and 3rd, they can hike it, and then the young kids will. The 2nd and 3rd grade it's dead ball, and then kindergarten through 1st, it's they can pick it up and run it. All right, any questions? All right, interceptions may not be returned. Wherever they intercept is dead ball, and then the change of possession happens wherever the interception is made. All right, any player who's rushing the quarterback must begin from the designated rush line. So the rush line is usually 7 yards back from the line of scrimmage. And what we did last year was, if you don't rush, the quarterback cannot run. Okay? In most upward rules says that, the quarterback has 7 seconds to throw the ball. Okay? But once he's rushed, they can run. So if you don't rush, they have 7 seconds to throw the ball. Or handoff, right? But they can't just get the ball and run. They got to be pressured. And that's, first and second week, we'll have some of that where they'll just take off and run, and then we'll blow the whistle and call them back and just replay the down. I wouldn't call a penalty right away. I'd just replay the down and say, hey, you can't run it unless you're pressured. Just talks about how to make a call. You want to be in a good position when you're actually reffing. There's only going to be 2 of you, so it's going to be hard. But normally, if I ref, I'm right on the side where the coaches are at, and I'm looking at both directions. Or you can also sit back if you're on the offensive side. You can actually look. You can look this way. But I think with 2 refs, it's harder to have each person behind the teams. I think on the side would be better to make calls, and then just put yourself in a better position to see all the entire both teams. Yeah, and in the rushing part, also you're going to have. We were only rushing 1, so. You can't bring the whole team. You can't rush everybody. So you got to rush one. We were rushing 1 person last year. Was it 2? We did 2? Okay. Yeah, but not the whole team. When it's 1 or 2, and then they could run. So. Let's see. Referee's drill. I don't know. I was saying 1. I don't know how it went. Do you think it was good with 2? We have the option to kind of change it up. Yeah, true. No, I'm fine with 2. I like to keep it the same. I think it was pretty competitive that way. Once we changed it last year, because we realized that the quarterback not running was a big issue. That was the year before last, actually, not last year, but when we changed that. So. All right. So basic stuff. Throw your flag in the direction of the penalty. You're going to explain it. You're going to explain it to the player. You're going to explain it to the coach. Those include delay game, encroachment, false start. And I'm thinking it was 20 seconds that they have to get a play. So by the time they get into a huddle, Once you get into that huddle, you have 20 seconds to start the play. So I'm counting out 20. And then if they don't, start to play by 20 seconds, then you throw a flag for a delay game. So, and once again, like I said, the first 2 weeks, you're going to have a lot of that. They're going to take a while to get the play in. They're going to take a while to get up to the line of scrimmage. It's just going to happen. But, make sure you call it. Give them a little break, but if they continue to do it, just call it. Let's see. Okay, illegal contact, defensive penalties. They can't hold, block, push. You can't do. We want to keep them off the ground. They can't physically tackle. They can't knock a player down. You want to call all that stuff. It's 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Illegal rushing, like we talked about, the 5-yard no rushing zone. That's considered illegal rushing. So that's the 5-yard. So you can't block with your hands up. And one thing I noticed in all years is offensive players like to run with the running back. So whoever has the ball is running, and then you have another offensive player kind of blocking for him or getting in the way. So normally what I tell the kids is once the ball is past the line of scrimmage, you're not allowed to go downfield and block. They need to stay still and let the play run its course. You don't want anybody blocking, and it happens a lot more in the older kids than it does in the younger kids, just because they're a little more competitive, more active. They'll just run with the ball carrier, so they're not allowed to do that. Not allowed to. The ball carrier is not allowed to actually go and try to do like a bull rush, run over somebody. They're supposed to actively try to get away from them. Some folks like the bull rush or put the shoulder down. We had some kids last year that did that. They're running around the corner, see two kids at them, and they put the shoulders down or bull them over. Can't do that. They need to evade them. So. I wouldn't teach them to block. Are you talking about kindergarten through first? I wouldn't. I would focus on the fundamentals of just getting them lined up and getting the ball to the right person running in the right direction. Honestly, that's all I would focus on, because that's gonna take up a majority of your time. Yeah. So and then you could probably once you get a couple games under your belt, maybe try here or there, but it's really about just exchanging the ball, center, quarterback, lining up, and where to run. So, yeah, and pulling flags, obviously. But all right, flag guarding. We have that. We don't have it in the younger kids. The older kids like to hit the hand away from the flag, so they can't do that. That's a penalty. And legal pass. So legal pass, basically crossing the line of scrimmage, throwing the ball. Can't do that. So that's a penalty also. Any questions on those? Often they call it offensive charging. I just said bull rush. You can't do that. You have to avoid a defender. If the offensive person makes contact, then that's a penalty. We had some kids in the previous years do that, so we just don't want to get anybody hurt. Shielding. So shielding, same thing as blocking. Can't put your hands up. Can't run with the player like we talked about. Can't get in the way. Consistently try to get in the way. That's shielding. Say side by side, in front or behind the ball carrier, impede defenders from making the tackle. So those all happen quite a bit. So these are scenarios. Teammates in the no-run zone, snap quarterback A1 takes a step backward, takes a knee outside of no-run zone. On third down, quarterback A1 throws a backward pass to A2, runs down the sideline. What's the result of the play? I don't know. What's the result of the play? It's an automatic do-over. Kind of like we talked about. So if they run in a no-run zone, blow the whistle, blow the flag. You don't mark off any yards. Just say, you can't do that. Just do it over. Well, those are the choices. This one's a little more in depth. Everybody reading that? I'm not going to read it all, but actually, that one's actually in depth. All right. Important reminders. Coaches are allowed to walk the sidelines, encourage their players without stepping in the play area. You want to make sure that's part of it's part of the game. You want 7 people on the field or 5 people on the field, and that's all you want on the field. You don't want everybody running around in the play on the field. So those are penalties. So if you have 7 players on there and they're goofing off and throwing the ball, and the ball goes on the field and they go on the field, that's technically a penalty. They should be calling it. But coaches need to make sure they control all that, make sure they stay on the sideline. And I usually say pay attention, because one thing I don't like as a coach is if I'm trying to put a player in, I'm like, hey, go in for Sam. And they're like, what? What am I playing? Because they're not paying attention to the game. I know they're kids, but I try to get them to pay attention to what's going on out of the field, especially the older kids. The younger kids, not so worried about it. I'm already like K through 3. I'm kind of like, they're going to be doing their thing. They're going to pick clovers. They're going to be, doing all kinds of other stuff. So it's going to be hard enough trying to get their attention. But yeah, I usually try to keep them all involved and paying attention so I can sub them out as needed. We talked about snapping the football. You can have use the option of use the side snap. So I would focus on the side snap maybe for second and third is probably the best for them. Do a side snap. If you can get it to snap normally, then that's great. And then I would just do the normal snap for the older kids. But that's up to you. That's what it says. 4 through 6. So 4 through 6 normal snap. Second and third side snap, and I would do side snap, or for the younger kids, just do side snap. The kindergarten, they're going to have a hard time doing it a normal snap. So, but you never know until you get out there and see what kind of kids you have that are athletic or can throw the ball. All right, I'm rambling. Find resources. Your referee handbook has all that stuff in it. Has all yardage you can mark off. Yes. Yeah, and I'll have the book. So I'll have the book that day too, so I can look it up quickly if you come and ask me. And I'll be there. Well, Terry Bradshaw's, that's not the right email. All right. Any questions? I know I kind of rambled on a little bit. Those are new slides for me, but if you have any questions throughout the year, like I said, I'll be there. I can help you on the field. I'll probably sub in sometimes when we have folks that are out. So I'll be there the majority of the time. Any questions? I know that was a lot of slides. Boring. A lot of information. She was more exciting than I was. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, a few things that I thought of while he was talking that I didn't cover for you guys is, so on each field, there will be a table that has the scoreboard on it. Each scoreboard has its own controller, and then there'll be a black file box, and in that black file box, you will find referee shirts. They're just black and white striped shirts. I'll have a couple large shirts, a couple extra large shirts. I'll put in different sizes in there. I think, what did I put in last year? Like 2 larges, an extra large, a double X. I think I put 2 of each in each of them so that you guys just take them out, you put them on, put them back in at the end, and I wash them each week and bring them back so that they get washed. So you'll have shirts there. Just make sure, like I said, you take them off and leave them there for me. And then you'll also have flags. There'll be yellow flags in there, so you'll be able to throw flags. And then you'll have little cones. They're like mini cones, but those are your place markers. Okay, so where the ball is going to be and things like that, or whatever those are called. Yep, and then you'll have, I was trying to think about how we're going to do that exactly, but you're going to have a bag for specifically 4th through 6th grade. Each team, home and visitor, there'll be a bag on the field for you guys that will have wristbands in it of different colors, and then quarterback bands where you can put plays into their band so that they can show the plays to the players. They're going to need that for practice too, though, so I'll put it on band and show you exactly where it's going to be, but I'll create something organized for you that you can go grab a bin, take it out for practice, put it back away, and then be able to do the same thing for game day. Chuck, do you want to explain the bands at all? Is there much to explain with it? Or, yeah, I'll let Chuck kind of explain how the bands work.
So we came up with the band system kind of last year, right? And it's much easier, especially with the younger kids, if you give them a colored band, like let's say orange or yellow or green. That way in the playbook, each play, like you have an arrow and it's yellow, orange, or green, all they have to do is look at the quarterback's wristband and they can see where they're going. So it makes it a lot easier. Things run way smoother. They're not running around like a bunch of cats, right? Yeah, so it's simple. And what we did is we gave them, in the practice last year, we did 2 practices, right? Yeah, so the first practice, we would give them a color. So the whole week they were that color. So by the time the game came around, they knew what color they were and they weren't confused. And so then sometimes during the game, we had to adjust stuff and switch wristbands depending on how many kids showed up, but it makes it way easier and cleaner. Right before the game starts, you issue them the band. They know where they're at because they practiced with that band and that color. That's basically it.
I only have it for 4th through 6th, but it is something that I can expand to last year, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd didn't use it. But it's something that you guys see.
So the first season we did, we didn't have the bands, but I wrote those in color, and I told the kids, you're this color, and then finally I got the wristbands. But yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, that's great. Yep, that's perfect. So the wristbands are ones. I've got 2nd, 3rd grade, kindergarten coaches in here. Anyone have input on if they want to try that or not? You want that? Okay. Okay. 2nd, 3rd? You would like that too? Okay. So I will look at that. I'll see how many I have. I can always order more, and I will create those bins. So now each field will have 2 bins so I'll have 4 bins with all those in it. So you will have, basically I'll probably have a field 1 home, field 1 visitor, field 2 home, field 2 visitor. I'll have boxes in the trailer that you guys can take out for practice, put back. It's your guys' responsibility to keep everything organized and together and not get lost, please. Okay, I'll have it all organized for you at the beginning, and if you guys can keep it all together, that would be great. And then whistles, you get to get your own whistles. Everyone likes different whistles. You can figure out what you want. You can have that. I tried to have some extras if you forget them on game day, but please don't fall into a habit of doing that. You want to get your good whistle of what it is that you would like to have. And then another thing that's really important is, as refs and coaches, safety is important for our kids here. We want to obviously keep them very, very safe. So there are a few things that I didn't go over, and I'll have to with the cheer coaches again, is a coach should never be alone with a child, okay? Parents are required to stay on campus when their kids are here. They can't drop them off. Even the 4th through 6th graders, they're not supposed to drop them off and leave. They're supposed to stay. Yeah. Uh-huh. That the parents were leaving, right? Okay. Right. So I enforce that in the emails that I send out. I usually put it in at least 3 of them throughout the season because I hear back from coaches. That is something that's really important for you guys to communicate with them too. And then if there ever is an issue where I've had one where a coach was like, the grandparents dropped them off, parents left. He didn't know that because he's coaching. Then he's left there by himself with one of the kids waiting for the grandparents to show up. He called me right away, so he was on the phone with me or with someone, wait till the grandparents, and then I was able to talk to the parents and we were able to move forward with what that situation was. But it shouldn't happen. You are not responsible for helping them go to the bathroom, to sending them to the bathroom, to getting their drinks. If they fall down and get hurt, a parent needs to be there. And so I will stress that to the parents, that is very important. But then you guys have my backing in that too. So if there are issues, let me know and I will definitely communicate with those families, okay? And then the other safety thing is please check the fields before play, okay? There was one point at last soccer season where I showed up when my kids were going to play and I went and walked around and all of the lawn care flags that are wires that stick up out of the ground, they were on the fields as kids were playing. If a kid falls on that, I actually have a distant cousin that fell on something like that and it went through his eye and he died, okay? I don't want that here. No one wants that, obviously, but it's a thing. And so maybe it was just more obvious to me because it happened, something fresh in my own family, that something as minimal as that can happen. But check the fields for those safety issues. If you see something, I don't care what it is. If it's not safe, take it off the field and I'll deal with it later. If it's a maintenance thing, we keep our kids safe and then I'll deal with our maintenance guys, okay? So you remove things that need to be removed from that field to keep them safe. If there are getting big divots and stuff by sprinklers that I haven't seen or been able to discuss with Matt, come tell me right away and so that we can get them addressed, okay? And then the other thing, disgruntled parents. You as a coach are not responsible to have to deal with them. I mean, you're going to get, if they come and talk to you, you have to talk to them and talk them down. But please let Cliff or I know if there is an issue with one, if we need to be brought in on one, if we need to discuss something. You can always say, too, if they have an issue, that's a great question. Or, you know what, please email Amber about this concern so that she's aware of it. Send them to me so that I can help and Matt can help and Cliff can help deal with them, okay? And then... Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you're coaching and you don't have time to talk to them and you see there's an issue,
Yeah.
just send somebody to come get them.
Yeah. For sure. And then snacks. It's a big thing for kids. I forgot to mention that. I will send out a blank snack schedule for you to be able to utilize if you want. You can create your own. It's just kind of an extra thing that I put on band if you need one, so that you can pass around to parents and let them be able to sign up for snacks and be able to do that. And then devotions. We talked about devotions. We didn't talk about game day. So game day is when there isn't a set devotion, but we do want, it's kind of a time for you to bring it all back together, right? So what you did in devotions during the week, be able to talk to them about it after the game while you're passing out stickers and things like that. Maybe it's a time that you want to share a scripture the Lord's placed on your heart at that time, whatever it might be. But you definitely still want to bring that in. And that is a time that you usually have the parents' attention sometimes too, if they're around as you're doing the stickers. If you bring them over and say, okay, everyone, let's go over here because the new team's coming on the field, you take them off to the side, all the parents kind of huddle around, you let them pass out snacks and do the stickers. You kind of have the parents around too, and that's a good opportunity to be able to talk with them as well, okay? I know that's a lot of information. Thank you so much for listening. Does anyone have any other questions?
Also for offense, so this is my suggestion. I mean, we did, I think 6 plays was the max plays that, can go into an armband. So if you get 6 good plays and you just kind of change it up as you go, because you can have 6 good ones and then adjust throughout the game. That's my suggestion. It was a lot easier for me, and we kind of did it, during COVID when we had the 3 teams and we played Liberty. I had 6 plays and they were color coded, and I told each player, hey, you're green today, wherever you are, that's what you do. So really good idea. Color code it and tell them they're green, yellow, blue, whatever the color is, and they'll know where they need to line up and what play is going to run. So Yeah, and I can get some more. I have access to play. Yeah. So you can have players on the line, but you can only have one person, one or two people rush, and if they rush, they have to be 7 yards back from the line. So I mean, you can match up. So if they have someone on the line, I can stand in front of them. If they go out for a pass, I can go with them, but I can't rush if I'm on the line. So that's, and usually we just kind of eye it as a ref. You're like, oh, that's 5 yards, 7 yards. If they're too close, you tell them to scoot back. I do that quite a bit. So the rushers have to be further back, but you can still have people defensively on the line. So, yeah. Any other questions? So quarterback has 7 seconds to throw the ball. So once it's hiked in his hands, he has 7 seconds to throw it. If he doesn't throw it in 7 seconds, it's a dead ball. So wherever he's standing, dead ball goes there, second down. So if he's back there 6 seconds and then someone rushes and he runs off, that's fine. But if you don't rush, he has 7 seconds to throw the ball, he or she. So, any other questions? I'm sure there'll be some throughout the year. Like I said, just get a hold of me. The easiest way to get a hold of me is probably through my cell phone. I'll put it on band, and just text me. And like I said, if you're on the field, you have any issues or refereeing, have any issues, let me know. So I'm pretty much always on my phone. So I'll try to give you the answer as quick as possible. But all right, appreciate you guys. Thanks.